Okay, Bones, that's enough music. Bones. All right, hey. Welcome to Midnight Paranormal. Society's Southern from it's Thursday night. It's time for Southern Fried Paranormal. Tonight, as the banner says, we have Steve Dills. We'll be talking about what he's doing, what he's going to do, and etc. etc. Tonight, these are what this is. Everybody who's familiar with the show knows I have trouble with internet because I'm way out here in the country. Steve Dills, you may not know where I live. I know he likes by a beach, and I put him on the banner on the beach. Didn't put me there because I spent my time at the beach in no beach, Florida, including Myrtle's Beach. So I'm living in the country, landlocked state, but I got a lake, a creek view. But anyway, we are going to come out with details in just a second. Let me tell you a little something about. And there's this he's a paranormal investigator. Wow. Paranormal investigator on Southern Fried Paranormal. Over a decade of experience in the field. Welcome to the club. Passion for the paranormal stems from experience at a very young age. I understand that. Waking up to your name being whispered in your ear at night, watching the door to your bedroom open repeatedly. And yes, those are not the things of a normal child. After years of private investigating paranormal, Steve teamed up with a number of other paranormal investigators and, of course, founded Transcend Paranormal in 2010. And he's still the director of the team. And him and Transcend Paranormal have worked with numerous historical sites, not only researching the paranormal, but also to support these sites, which is a great thing to do. We forget that sometimes. Well, those people money. But due to it having a very bad roof and asbestos in there, I could go in there for a few dollars. I could go in there and buy the police department a few dozen donuts, slip the city at 20 and go in and investigate all night. I could buy the place for probably have to repair the roof or get the asbestos out there or tear the whole building down, which would cost thousands. But people who own buildings have maintenance. They got as long as they put it right back in their site. Like, say, Ashmore Estates and places similar to that. Your efforts. You sound like a great human being, sir. Present continues these efforts today to ensure the historical sites and locations will continue to be community centers for education and learning. Transcend also offers services to all those in need, both public and private locations. Transcend operates out of Central Virginia and travels when necessary to assist clients. Whoa, can't read. Actually, I can't see. Steve is a town historian for the Ghost Finders, one of the longest running paranormal TV shows. So everybody who wants somebody who's got some face time on TV, here's your man. Using his background in technology and passion for history, he's a historian and incorporates historical findings alongside the latest tech to explore claims of the paranormal. Recently, Steve began co-hosting his own show alongside longtime friend Chris Vaughn called Eerie Encounters. Available on YouTube, follows their paranormal adventures, recapping experience while entirely sleep deprived, making for some quite interesting conversation. So we'll find out exactly where to find him on YouTube. So some mysteries around the partnering and working with some of the most prominent investigators and figures in the last week I had Dale Casmerica on the show, and tonight let me bring out right now Steve Dills.
Hey, how's it going, Len? Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being here.
For sure.
It's always great to talk to people who have been as active in the paranormal as you, and be allowed to come on there and tell people what you do and how you do it. And we don't know each other that well. And tonight I would like to remedy that situation by getting to know you. So
Sure.
can you tell everybody who doesn't know you how you
Sure. Yeah. Well, so what was the last part of that? Sorry. Can you hear me, Len?
Yes, I can hear you.
What was the last part of the question? I apologize.
I said, just tell us a little bit how you got involved in the paranormal and when.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually got involved in the paranormal. Well, it all started when I was kind of young, um, and my family had moved down to Virginia. So I was very young, moved down during my birthday, or like right around my birthday. So as a young kid, kind of being plucked out of everything that I knew and kind of, I guess, was familiar with and understood. It put me into this really, um, I guess I wouldn't say awkward, but kind of into a situation that kind of opened me up to uh, things, right? And so um, we moved into this house that was brand new built. Nobody had lived there before, but for whatever reason, there was some activity there. There was some things there, and you know, for whatever reason, it decided that I was going to be the main target, which is always great, right? That's a lot of fun. Everybody enjoys that being like the main target, and so I was already, brand new world, right? Brand new place. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know, my friends were all gone. My family, like my extended family, was all gone, and so I was kind of, very anxious, a little bit depressed, those sorts of things. Um, and I think that's kind of what made me a prime target. And so it started off with me being sick for a couple of months, which is very weird. I was just sick for quite some time. My parents had taken me to a number of doctors. There were no issues, nothing that they could identify that was wrong. Um, and then I started uh, seeing like shadow figures walking in and out of my room. And of course, at that time, I didn't really know what they were doing, why they were there, et cetera, et cetera. I just knew that it was, scary as hell. Um, and so that kind of kicked things off. From there, I was watching my bedroom door open and close, my closet door opening and close. I was hearing my name being yelled and screamed and whispered into my ears. I would hear muffled conversations throughout the house. Um, I remember very, very specifically the piano that we had in the house playing by itself at like 3, 4 in the morning. Those sorts of things. You'd wake up and that's all I'd hear is the piano playing. And my mother could play the piano, but she was not awake at 4 a.m. playing the piano. Um, and so you know, all of this sort of stuff really affected me. And yeah, as Thomas said, as scary as a kid, like I was terrified. I did not want to go home. Like, you know, a lot of us see home as like a refuge, a safe space from the world, and I did not want to ever go home. Like I was more okay being at school as a kid, which is weird because like most kids don't want to be in school. They want to be at home playing with their friends or video games or whatnot. Um, I was the opposite. I was like, if I can just not be in this house, I would be very okay with that. I lived there for 2 years and finally moved out. Um, and when I did, all that activity stopped. It didn't follow me, which was really nice. But it kind of opened up the question as to why. Like, why did this happen to me? Why was this targeting me? And you know, as I got older, I realized that it's kind of scary, like not just for me, but for like for other folks going through this experience, right? Especially, you know, uh younger kids, right? And so when we have like a case that comes through that's, okay, well there's kids involved, we always kind of prioritize that and make sure that okay, let's make sure these folks are okay because, it was a pretty terrifying experience. Today it's definitely not like, looking back, I'm like, okay, like I could probably do that as an adult, but as a kid, that was absolutely terrifying. And so that's what got me into the paranormal. And from there, kind of just, you know, formed my own team with, partnership of a couple other people. Um, and then we took off. And we've been, partnering with different historical locations, um, taking on a number of private cases throughout the years. But, um, one of the big places that we first investigated was a location called Henricus Historical Park. Um, aw, there's a bunch of folks in chat. Hey Rob, how's it going, man? Hi Julie. Hey Tom. Hey Anthony. And so, you know, it was at Henricus that uh as a team, we kind of identified that we had a huge passion for history as well as the paranormal. And Henricus, for those of you that don't know, is the second oldest English settlement in America. It dates back to about the 1601 or something like that. Julie will know for sure. Um, but it's a very old settlement, and we had the opportunity to go in and investigate it, and we do so pretty often. Um, but from there, we started partnering with other historical locations to help them fundraise, right? To help them raise money, and so 100% of the proceeds from our events and investigations goes directly to those historical sites, so that they can, continue with their educational programming and outreach for the community and students and those sorts of things, but also for the historic preservation and restoration of the historical buildings that are still there, so that they can utilize them for educational purposes, right? So like, you know, it's not just us investigating, but like other folks get to go out and check it out and learn about history. Julie said 1611. Thank you. And so that's kind of like how Transcend and my team kind of came about, and we've been growing ever since. We started off with 3 or 4 members. We're somewhere around 20 today, which is a fairly big team. But we're have a lot of fun and we enjoy what we do. And then from there, I ended up meeting Rob and the Ghost Finders, and they brought me on a season ago, season and some change now. And so we've been filming and having a blast, and it's been a lot of fun.
Wow. And here, down here, I'm a team of one.
Are you really?
I've had three people contact me about the paranormal down here in Arkansas. Two of them wanted minimum wage to be paid minimum wage to go ghost hunt with me.
Interesting.
The other one didn't want to really talk to me about paranormal until he saw and investigated me as to what I've done in the past to see if I was worthwhile talking to about doing something in the paranormal.
Very
Never had her
interesting.
back from
Yeah, we don't. We don't. We don't. We don't do that. None of us get paid. And excuse me, I got something in my eye. I don't know what that is. Um, but none of us get paid. It's definitely kind of a hobby thing. We have a lot of fun. Um, Definitely spend a lot more money than I ever plan to get out of it. Right? I
Mm,
don't see it as a profession. Uh,
yes,
but we enjoy what we do, and we enjoy helping people. And that's kind of the way that we see it. Is we're helping folks. We may not be doing a whole lot of like home cases and going into like people's houses, but we are helping folks in teaching them history and helping them you know have the opportunity to go to some historic location that they might not otherwise, because you know one of the big reasons that we partner with these locations is most historic locations don't get any state or federal or local funding, like whatsoever, government funding.
right,
um, and so a lot of that comes down to the amount of foot traffic that that you know these locations get, as well as the awareness and in terms of like grants and donations and all that sort of stuff. And so we always try to do what we can to give back to the community, and we kind of see that in a way as us giving back is working with these locations, helping them fundraise, and hopefully getting them on the map so that people, come back, not just for the paranormal, but because they found some sort of passion and love for this location that they want to come back. They want to see it succeed. They want to see it be there for generations to come. And so that's how we try to help out and do what we can.
right, and in it for the right reasons. By the way, I take a Shirley Thomas,
What was
Jamie Lynn, uh, Rob Thompson, and Thomas Donahue.
There's a lot of good
So
folks
hello,
hanging out
Joe.
in the chat.
Welcome to the show.
Rob is
Yes,
actually our our
very live.
Rob's actually our producer and our team medium for the Ghost Finders. And Thomas, I give him hell every chance I get. Uh, but thanks for coming and joining with us tonight, guys. We appreciate it for sure. Intention to
Yeah.
respect everything.
As far as
Always done.
you got your producer in the room, here is my producer. This is Bones. This is director.
I like it.
So there's a little difference between me and you. You people, uh, I have a dog skeleton.
But yeah, like Thomas said, he says I always look
But
at
you,
going. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, you go ahead. I'm listening.
Oh, Thomas says I always look at going to a location as getting an awesome history lesson. Spirit is a bonus. I agree. I find that there's some really really neat opportunities that you get by investigating, and uh, you never know if you're going to get activity or not. But you always get to learn something new, right? And so like
No,
I know from the locations that I've had the opportunity to go to. um, I've gotten to see some of the really coolest, really really cool, uh, you know, places that otherwise like the general public doesn't get to go into, or to check out, or whatever. Um, I've been into basements of locations and attics of locations and rooms that are typically closed off to the public that you know it's just cool to be able to have that opportunity and to get to to kind of walk in the footsteps of history in that aspect. um so I love it. I think it's really really fascinating. And like Thomas said, if there's some activity, then that's a bonus. I like Rob, you love Sprite. Thomas, I am not singing a country song. That's Chris.
yeah, I look on places like you're talking about. I don't know how much about me that you know, but several years ago, back I've only lived 7 years down here in Arkansas. About 8 9 years ago now, uh, I did an investigation at Camp Douglas in Chicago. And
Be back in a second with Thomas's sprite. Oh, I guess I don't have audio. I don't know. If you guys have any questions while Len's internet is acting up, Thomas, I'm not singing. There's no way. Uh, anyways, if you have any questions, throw it in chat. I'm totally like I love when everybody gets involved and we have a good time. So toss it in chat. While Len gets his internet all fixed up. He is definitely out there, and he's telling me earlier that he's got like really bad reception sometimes. Um, but yeah, nope, not taking any song requests. I am so sorry, Thomas. Uh, God no, that'd be the one. I mean, it'd be like negative viewers, man. Internet by AOL. Oh my goodness. Do you find it investigating easier inside or outside? Inside. Inside for sure. Um, at least, well, I like investigating inside. Uh, the majority of the time, especially if there is AC. I'm getting old, Thomas. No, really, I like investigating inside a lot more. Just because there's less environmental contamination in that sense, right? Of um, really noise and like sound pollution, light pollution you can control a little bit better indoors than outdoors. Outdoors, especially during the summer, you have to worry about a lot of bugs and insects and all that sort of stuff. um, and so I find it kind of difficult to run an evp session outside. Hey Len, I'm answering questions in chat.
yeah, I caught that. I was actually reading the questions while I was waiting to get back in here, knocking on the door, and I
Welcome
realized,
back.
wait a minute, I'm the one that's supposed to be answering the door, and I'm knocking on the door. What? How did that happen? Uh,
Well, welcome
Rob
back.
just asked, "Had you investigated many cemeteries?" And yeah, thank you. Welcome back to my own show. To
Yeah.
answer Rob's question, I investigated Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, and you may have heard of Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, one of the most haunted acres of real estate in the United States. And there was a time, one point, one spring, where I looked back and realized I was in that cemetery for 10 straight days. And there were
Like
several weeks where I
slept in
was in there
there or like
for 2 to 3 days a week. No, you couldn't go in there at night. So I was in there during
okay.
daytime.
Okay, I
It's
wasn't sure if you were
you
like
had
just
a you
lost
had
track of
a
time.
no. I was just it was I could go in there when I wanted to, and some days I got results like you were talking earlier, and some days you don't get anything.
Yep.
But of course, the payoff is when you get something. You may go spend 3 hours there and get nothing, and you just go home. Sometimes I'd spend an hour there and get unbelievable results.
Hmm.
And I believe that's what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, like, I've
Uh,
investigated a few cemeteries, but like a lot of the way, I guess I see it is like in terms of preternatural activity. Like if it if we hey Sandy, how's it going? Um, if we look at the idea of the most popular theory is ghosts or folks that have passed on, right? They're human beings that once lived, are now dead, and now are communicating with us. If we go with that theory, and that is one of many theories, uh I it's hard for me to imagine that you're going to have some sort of desire to like haunt or hang around where you're buried, right? Like I know for a fact for me, if I'm going to be buried in a cemetery, um, I'm probably not going to spend a whole lot of time there as a living, breathing human being, right? Now there are a few cemeteries that I feel like definitely don't fit that bill. Around here in Richmond, Virginia, there's a place called Hollywood Cemetery. It is very popular for weddings, for picnics. Folks, I mean, it's right on the river. It is breathtaking view. It is absolutely beautiful. Um, and so, you know, in terms of like activity, probably there's lots of reports of there being activity there, but there's a lot of emotional attachment to that location as well. Just like a like stereotypical kind of like cemetery, like I don't know. I don't feel like I would go and like haunt where my dead body is. I feel like I'd go to places that are more important to me emotionally, or where like people that I'm emotionally attached to are, right? Like my family or my friends. Like I'll probably hunt the hell out of my friends if I can, just for fun, right? But like, but uh, I don't know. Like I feel like I don't know why I would hang out in a cemetery. Like I don't know. See, like City says, this would be so
Well,
boring. I'm gonna go haunt
some people
people.
I found mhm. Some people are stuck. Like one of the primary spirits I contacted in Bachelor's Grove didn't know how to get away from her grave. She had her mother come by there at dusk every evening and pick her up and carry her away because it was a desecrated, abandoned cemetery. And if she didn't come in there and take her child, who, by the way, died at 11 months and 4 days old, we're talking a baby here,
Aw, that's so sad.
she would be stuck in there with the people who tried to keep people out of there from desecrated. The most of your headstones, some were stolen, some were thrown in the pond,
Mhm.
a lot were painted. Just a horrible desecration. People going in there showing how something got started years ago in the neighborhood where the kids to graduate high school and to be full grown had to go in there and do something with that cemetery to prove how big a man they were.
Yep.
And they would go in there and move headstones, at least spend a little while by themselves in the cemetery. And you had a lot of spirits come in there and were trying to protect the place. You also had, it was, the cemetery is also a half mile away from an old Indian village where this is a theory now, we can't prove this, but talking with some older tribes members, there was a massacre there before white people were even living in the Midwest, where they were a small tribe and a bigger tribe came in there, basically wiped all the men out and took the women and children to expand their tribe, which was standard operating procedure for a lot
Yep.
of tribes. If the male, you know, births, or if there were more males living to adulthood than females, they had issues. They cannot expand the tribe, of course, without females. So if they needed they had a bunch of 15 to 25-year-old males going around with no women. That's a situation even in today's. And that's what they do, just go in there and steal somebody else's women.
Yep.
That's what creates the bad feeling around Bachelor's Grove. That's the whole background and source of all of it. The portals opening up, the haunted nights. And by the way, I did spend an entire night in there by myself. I got dropped off at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and got picked up at 8 o'clock the next morning. And I was alone and in that cemetery that long.
It's a long time, man. I was like
With
going with somebody.
I had no car anywhere near. The wife dropped me off and she went back home and went to bed. So I couldn't even call her to tell her to come get me.
She's like, I got
And
the
I
bed to
had no
myself
cell
tonight.
phone with me. Mm-hmm. So she was sleeping in the middle of the bed. And I had no cell phone. I couldn't even call anybody. I had nowhere to
Oh my
go, no
goodness.
way to get there. And spent the night there. A paranormal group showed up at 2:00 in the morning. So I gave them a tour of the place. I used to do tours, not for money. Just I was there. They were there.
I feel
So
like I would have tried to scare the hell out of them.
I gave them a tour. Oh, you want to hear that tale? Okay. I'll tell you that tale, Steve. The group came in, and I had a set of 4 walkie-talkies. I had 3 of them taped to trees outside the cemetery. And I had one, and I knew which one was on. I had all 3 set on different channels. So when I talked on a certain channel, only one would sound off.
Oh my goodness.
So the group was coming in, and I keyed up one. Hey, the police are coming. The police are coming. You got to run. You got to run. Get out of here. And then I keyed up the next channel. Run. And it was a little bit further away. And then the one further, so I keyed it up last. Get out of here. Run like hell. Disappear. And they were running and said, wait a minute, that's a walkie-talkie. Let's go back there. I saw a camera sitting in that cemetery. So they come back in and said, okay, we're the good guys. We're not going to bother you. Where are you? Now, of course, I was in all black clothes. My face was covered entirely with brown, black, and dark green, olive green camo.
Oh my God.
The back of my hands was all covered. All the fingers and my wrist, everything that might stick out of the sleeve was also covered in camo grease paint.
You must have been wearing a ghillie mask.
In other words,
ghillie outfit there.
I was completely, unless you shined a flashlight on me, I was invisible. And I hid behind a tree, and they were saying this, and I got a flashlight. It's kind of bright. The leader was separated from his team member. You can imagine what would happen if somebody did this to your team. I turned the flashlight, bright white flashlight on, and we're on a moonless night. As dark as it gets there. You get your hand 3 or 4 feet from your face, and your hand disappears in the darkness. I hit their faces with the flashlight, turned the flashlight off. So the team members were completely blinded by the white flash. And I can move kind of quick despite my old age. Of course, this was about 8-9 years ago. And in 2 steps, I covered the space from where I was to the leader. I got nose to nose with him and said, who the hell are you? And what the hell are you doing in here?
Oh my God.
And basically, I just appeared. I just appeared out of absolute nowhere, and was literally touching noses with this guy, screaming at him.
And then he
about pissed himself. And he looked. He said, "Okay, I'm not going to hurt anything." I said, "Okay, let's talk. Why are you here? We're just here just to experience the cemetery." And Thomas, yes. At the time, I'm about 245 pounds. I was about 225 when I was doing this. Yeah, you can imagine somebody 5'9", 225 pounds, suddenly appearing right in front of you. And he looked at me and said, "How the hell did you do that?" He said, "I'm an active duty Marine. Nobody sneaks up on me like that." And I said, "I went to Troy University, Fort Benning, Georgia plant. Of course, now it's Fort Moore. They changed the name of it. Colonel Moore from the movie, the Mel Gibson movie." And I had, for 3 years and a quarter, all my classmates were Army, and a lot of them were Ranger. So basically, I got a business management degree with a second in Ranger training.
Uh-oh. I wonder if we switched. Oh, you're back.
So I got how to hide in the dark. Yeah, how to hide in the dark. And again, unless you put a flashlight right on me, how to just disappear. And he said, "Oh, that explains it." But then I gave them a full tour of the place. I said, okay, y'all need to go, get out of here, try to be quiet, etc. But other than that, I was absolutely by myself. The whole time, coyotes were howling. In fact, well, coyote walked toward the cemetery. Two of them walked toward the cemetery just as I was about to leave. But you can imagine on a moonless night, stars were out, so I did not get city reflectivity of clouds either.
Hmm.
And you hear coyotes howling all night long.
I'm
That
good.
was it was
Back to the
eerie.
car.
It was. And
I don't want to
remember,
get eaten.
I was only using infrared light. I had several cameras going, but they were full spectrum cameras, and the light I had was quite bright. If you looked in the camera viewfinder, you could see stuff.
Yeah,
But
just
unless you're
not
staring
anybody
into the
else.
viewfinder, right? And I also kept the viewfinder covered, so I didn't have this bright light in my face.
Hmm.
The whole time I
Too
was filming,
funny.
I just put a piece of cardboard over the viewfinder. So I was filming in darkness, and
Oh my
got
god.
some interesting videos. It was fun. It was interesting. People say, I spent the night in Batters Grove. I said, how long were you there? Well, we got there about 2 o'clock in the morning. We left about 4. I said, that's spending 2 hours in Batters Grove. That's not spending the night. Try going in by yourself for about 10 or 12 hours with no way out.
Yeah, I've
Then
not
talk to
stayed
me
the night
about it.
in. I've stayed the night in a bunch of weird places, but not in a cemetery. I've done insane asylums and prisons and all that sort of stuff. Not like run down abandoned prison. Not like I was locked in prison for. But I've spent the night and slept in some weird places, but not a cemetery. There is a cemetery around here that kind of has a similar history where it's got a basically um it was meant to be kind of like a well-to-do cemetery, and um somebody ended up purchasing it from the original investors, and for whatever reason these new owners that purchased the property were under the I guess the understanding that they could turn the cemetery into apartments and a housing
Really?
uh neighborhood, right? And that's not a thing. That's not allowed. You can't do that. And so after they purchased the property and they realized, oh, whoops, the cemetery has to stay cemetery, not housing. They pretty much just left it, and they said, if you're buried in here, or if you have
Wow.
family member that are, family that's buried in here, you need to take, you keep up with them now. This is not ours. And so it became very dilapidated. There's one mausoleum that's on the site that was broken into. I know at one point I had
Hmm.
visited there, during the daytime, years back, and I remember walking up to, and again, this was all like in the brush and everything, but walking up to the mausoleum, being able to look in and realizing that like at my foot was like a femur, like an actual, like just a bunch of bones. Like somebody had broken into the mausoleum and they had broken into all the coffins so that they could steal all of the jewelry and anything that like was left in there with the people when they were buried. And it was really like very depressing. Like it was really
Yes.
like shameful how people like these were people's loved ones, right? Like don't show some respect.
Right.
And it was sad. Like there's a big community push to kind of reclaim the land and um bring it back to just a resting place for these folks. But way back in the day it was really rough. And there's a fair
Yeah.
amount of activity
It,
there. We investigated a little bit, and I
yes.
think that really ties to just like how upsetting it is, right? Like you know, I,
Yes.
I, I don't know. It was just very the way that it was left. The folks that owned the property was just so disrespectful to those
Mm-hmm.
people and to their loved ones. But
This
crazy
is
stuff,
what
man.
creates a haunted cemetery. Yeah, to put a bow on the point we were making a few minutes ago. Most cemeteries are not haunted because people are moving, like you, the point you made. They're moving on. They're going places. And they're not going to hang around, where their body is, unless there's desecration or something going on. The cemetery you're talking about obviously had issues. Baxter's Grove, of course, being abandoned for decades, had issues, and that's what creates a haunted cemetery. Cemeteries around here where I live, I've got one. If you go by the way the bird flies, I can be at a cemetery if I was a sparrow, let's say, in about 2 minutes, easily, minute and a half.
Hmm.
I can walk there in about 15 minutes. All I got to do is just go up this hill. Of course, I'm crossing all kinds of personal property, but that's beside the point. Uh, I can drive there in about 5 minutes.
Hmm.
But that's not haunted. I've been there. It's an active place. It's taken care of. The grass is even cut. No desecration. No, they've never had issues there. And there, as far as the haunting goes, there's no need going in there. Paranormal equipment. There's nothing.
Yep.
But like you're talking about, and like I'm talking about, it's kind of more than a coincidence when you run into cemeteries that's had issues and they are haunted, and you walk into a cemetery that's never had an issue and they're not haunted. I think
Yeah.
there's too much of that to be coincidence.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, like I feel like unless it's a place that has some cultural significance. I mean, like you look at cemeteries in the past, they're in America and in our culture doesn't view it the same as we used to, but having picnics in cemeteries and gatherings and whatnot was a fairly commonplace thing. It's just recent
Yes, it
in
was.
our culture that
They didn't
that
have.
we don't do that anymore.
Mhm.
We might visit every once in a while, once in a blue
Right.
moon, maybe we'll drop off some flowers.
Uh,
um but you look at other countries and other cultures, and it's still very commonplace that they have gatherings, family reunions,
mhm.
and picnics and all these sorts of things that are still in cemeteries. And so I can see there where it makes sense that okay, there's an emotional tie, there might be some activity. But like you look at your
Right.
typical American kind of cemetery these days, you're there really when somebody's getting buried, and you might stop by a couple times to see that loved one, but you yourself aren't spending a whole lot of time there. Hopefully not. And if you are,
Exactly.
hopefully you're not doing anything like desecration wise or anything like that.
No.
Um, but like you said, to your point, like I've seen some of these cemeteries that just have this really checkered past that end up getting some very interesting activity.
Now, Baxter's Grove is not as haunted as it used to be because Libby May, the child I was talking about, I had a conversation with her mother, and I told them just to go. I said, "You have never been outside this area in the United States." By the way, the mother died in 1881.
Wow.
The child died in 1865, and she was buried in a family plot because where the family moved and her other family members, immediate family members, are in Orland Park, several miles away. She's buried with a couple of aunts and uncles and cousins because
Hmm.
Orland Park Cemetery wasn't available for burials till 1869, which is where her parents and her siblings, a couple of them that also died young, are there. So she's kind of by herself. But I got them to go out, and they're not there anymore. The only person that I've met that can call them out in Baxter's Grove is Dale Kazmarek, and he doesn't do it very much. He doesn't go there much anymore because the research is done. It's been we found out who it was.
Hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with Dale Kazmarek and the Ghost Research Society, but it was his
Familiar
group
name.
with Judy Huff that took the most famous ghost picture in history, the Lady on the Stone, in Baxter's
Hmm.
Grove.
Okay. Yep.
Well,
I know exactly what that means.
Okay, I found out who it was. Took me about 2 years of research,
Hmm.
but that's Amelia Patrick Humphrey. And the reason she came there was her child's buried in Bachelor's Grove.
Yeah, I mean,
So
you
that's who
know,
it was, and that's why she was there.
it's interesting that it took you 2 years, and I feel like that is weird saying this, but like a quick turnaround. Uh, we we investigate a place called the Hanover Tavern, and I'm actually the president of the board there. And one of the very first, big reasons that we were actually brought to the tavern, in the very first place, was what we refer to as the Lady in Black. And it took us almost 8 years, but we finally, we kind of had an inclination of who she was, why she was there. Um, it took us 8 years to get an actual confirmation, though. I mean, and this
Wow.
is 8 years of going and investigating and spending time there. Not necessarily always just actively investigating, but I mean, spending time at the tavern and being there. We host a lot of public fundraisers there as well, but just trying to identify and get a confirmation that yes, this is this individual, this is who we think it is. Yep, that's them. Um, and 8 years, we finally got it, and we know exactly who she is, and we
Wow.
know. I mean, we already knew why she was there. We kind of had an idea, and it made sense. But, um, it took a long time to just get her to actually finally communicate. And don't know what was the flip of the switch that finally she's like, you know what, I am gonna talk finally. But she did, and we've been able to communicate, and she's confirmed it. And we refer to her as the Lady in Black because predominantly when guests have seen her, she's wearing a black morning gown, mourning in the sense of Victorian
Ah,
era.
okay.
So, right during Civil War, a little bit post Civil War, and she was actually one of the well, again, I can't say with 100%, like this is who it is, but we believe that this was one of the tavern owners, and both of her daughters actually passed during the Civil War, uh, from illness. And so, you know, that's a small amount of time to lose both of your daughters. Both of her sons were sent off to war. Both of her sons came back alive,
Mhm.
but both of her daughters, who were still at home, passed away. And actually, one of
Wow.
her daughters had two children, which were then left with their grandparents to raise. Um, and so, you know, where we see her moving through the tavern is predominantly where, first off, where that morning, that wake would have been held for both of her daughters. But she is very open with the fact that she does not want to be remembered as like in a black morning gown. She, like, that's not her personality. um and so we refer to her as the Lady in Black, but in all reality, uh that's not how she wants to be portrayed. And so we always, you know pay honor and homage to that, and explain why we refer to her as the Lady in Black, because this is how she's predominantly presented to people. But she was a living, breathing person.
Yes. Now, you never figured out what the trigger was when she decided to talk to you?
Nope, no idea. We really don't know why. It was post pandemic, and we've been trying to chat with her for quite some time, and then just after, like, everybody, we had COVID, everybody locked down. We didn't do any investigating for a little bit, and then we went back in there and just kind of picked up where we left off. And I don't know if it was just time or what, but finally we were able to get some sort of
Hmm.
communication and
I bet
some
that was it.
line of communication with her. And we've been able to kind of, it's not frequent, but every once in a while we're able to communicate with her again. So it's interesting.
That was probably the frequency they got to know you, that you were not threatening, and they kind of knew who you were, figured out what you were going to do, and just got so used to you, and they finally managed to say something. But my situation with Libby Mae was kind of the same. She started playing with a piece of my equipment like it was a toy. She did it when I got a comfortable chair there. I wasn't getting a whole lot. I was in the shade. It was a beautiful spring day, and I had a temperature sensor on one of my meters, and it started going off real loudly. And the only way I could repeat it is actually put my fingers on it. That's the only way I could repeat the sound I was hearing. So she was playing with it. With the mother, and that's how I broke the ice with her. I was sleeping. I guess she maybe thought I was checking on me to see if I was dead because I wasn't moving. And I just fell asleep in my chair.
She's still alive. I don't know. Hit the thing. Make
To get the
noise.
mother. Yeah, man. So let me saw this alarm. Wait a minute, that rings really loud. When I touch it, let me wake him up. And of course, I wake up slowly. I just open one eye and look at the meter, and I thought, okay, something's right here. What do I do? Do I jump up and scream and shout? Do I run? Or do I, try to play cool and talk to whatever this is? And I did the latter. To get her mother to talk to was difficult. She liked to erase video. She would go into your equipment and mess up and corrupt your video or any kind of pictures you had when she appeared. She kind of about halfway appeared through a portal every evening right at dusk. And what I did with her, they had a house locally. Her husband, well, he was a state senator. He hired a secretary and immediately started having an affair. They're
lovely.
Him and John and Amelia's marriage was arranged by their parents. There was a loveless marriage, and it was because both their families were prominent landowners in the area. And he was having an affair for decades with this woman. And by the way, John is buried in the cemetery in Orland Park. He's buried in the center, and has each of his wives buried either side of him, and their dead children buried beside the mothers. So tell me that doesn't create some unrest in the paranormal side.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But anyway, she did not. She would not contact me until I was in the house on investigating there, and I was in her husband John Humphrey's room, and they had as a display. John was only about 5'4", 5'5". He wore after the hats ran out of style. He used to wear a stovetop hat with that's made of instead of Chinese silk, like a lot of them were made in the 1860s and 70s. He had original American made with beaver skin.
Okay.
So as a trigger object, I wore that hat for about 45 minutes during the investigation.
Oh, like his hat.
And his very hat. This is not a mock-up. It was not just brought in as a prop, as a period piece. This was his hat. And I was in his room wearing his hat.
That's pretty neat.
He angered him a bit, and she thought it was highly amusing. And with her daughter paying attention to me and listening to me sometimes, she started interacting with me, and that's how I found out who it was. That was the little push that I got.
That's pretty.
It triggered her to her admitting now. Yes, it was. John did not like that at all.
A little bit of marital disarray even after death.
Yes. There's issues there still. There's a lot of drama there.
Still is.
Okay. By the way, I said I wanted. Mm-hmm, still amusing. It's halfway time. So what I want you to do right now is tell people where they can find you. I've got some of your websites down here, Facebook pages down below. Uh,
Yeah.
have you got any sites where you can send people?
Yes. So the few different places that you can find me. First off is my paranormal team. It's Transcend Paranormal, transcendparanormal.com, or on Facebook, which is Transcend Paranormal. We have tons of different events that we host. Most of them are in kind of in Virginia. Occasionally we do travel. In fact, we're going to be in Gettysburg. Today is Thursday. Technically, it's almost Friday in 1 minute. However, we will be in Gettysburg for the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash coming up, which is going to be a awesome, awesome time. Um, that's July 14th through the 16th. So come and join us. It's for a great cause. Um, you can also find me on the Ghost Finders, which is theghostfinders.com, or on Facebook as the Ghost Finders. We do have episodes available on Paraflix and on the Spirit channel on Roku. You can find some of the older episodes on Amazon Prime, and I think we're going to be getting some newer ones up there fairly soon. But that is the Ghost Finders, and then you can also find me on you had mentioned before, a small little side project that I am working on with a buddy of mine, Chris Vaughn. It's called Eerie Encounters. It's basically post event, post investigation, post filming. Chris and I get together. We are both sleep deprived, and we kind of like recap the last like 48 hours, 72 hours kind of bit. We're both like very, very tired. So the conversation typically takes very sideways turns quick. We talk about some really dumb things. We make horrible dad jokes. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun filming it, and it's meant to be more of like like a comedy almost, um, mixed in with chatting about the paranormal and some of the experiences that we have. I know one of the places that we investigated recently is the Jim Jones Church, which is out in Indiana, and we have some really fun commentary on that, as well as the Bell Mansion. We chat about Randolph County Infirmary. I mean, just a whole. I don't know. We have fun. We have a lot of fun with it. It's typically when we're driving, so the audio typically is fairly shoddy. But we also make fun of that too. So it's good times. It's good times all around. We have a lot of fun. And that's where you can find me. I'm in a number of different
But
places.
the only comment I've got about what you just said, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, a lot of people get really involved, I feel like, and they take this in a very serious tone. And I understand that there is a time and a place to be serious, but I also feel like you have to have fun. You have to enjoy what you're doing. And I don't see any
Okay.
issue in having a good laugh every once in a while, right? Um, like Thomas said, place the recorder on the car behind you. We're contemplating that, Thomas. Uh, One of the things, I know when I do like EVP sessions, for example, um, more often than not, I see folks kind of interrogate, right? It becomes an interrogation, like, "What's your name? How old are you? What's your favorite color?" And it's like, that's got to be like horrifying, like a terrifying experience for whomever is answering these questions. And so, you know, like what better way to you know bring whomever is hanging out with you into the conversation than have a good time, showing them that you're having a good time. It really like de-escalates the situation of you essentially breaking into somebody's home, like where these spirits are living, right? Like you're walking into somebody's living room and you're like, how old are you? Like that's got to be horrifying. So like have fun, relax, enjoy, like treat it like a conversation, and like more often than not, that's how we end up getting EVPs. That's how we end up, because somebody wants to chime in on the conversation. Somebody wants to talk. Somebody wants to be heard. They want to voice their opinion, right? And like as humans, we all like our opinions to be heard. And so that seems to be the way to do it. And that has worked out really well. Like as opposed to just like waterboarding a spirit for answers. Like, like we just try to treat them like human beings. Like everybody likes to have a good laugh. Everybody likes to have fun. Do that. It works. It works out really well.
Yes. And I found out the best way to you got to get everybody chilled out and relax is to talk to them like you and I are talking to each other right now. And that's
I
how I
agree.
try to do it.
I agree. I mean, and that's how you build a
You
connection,
treat
right?
they used to be human beings. So you treat them like they're a human being. Mhm.
Yep. I mean, it's
And that's one
like,
reason why you and I get results and other people who don't.
yep. I mean, it's like Rob had mentioned earlier in chat. It's just like showing a level of respect. You know, like it's kind of like the golden rule, right? Treat others like you want to be treated yourself. You know, so if you're gonna go in there and you're gonna start yelling and screaming and swearing and all that sort of stuff and berating whomever's there, don't be surprised if that's what you get back. Um, you know, you might get a response. Probably not what you want. Probably not going to answer any of your questions. But you know, so I definitely try to not go into any of my investigations in that mindset of like, okay, I'm gonna be an asshole. Like try, like maybe not do that, and it works out pretty well. And you get good results.
One incident that I had to be done a little bit less friendly than you're talking about, but he was a mob figure in Chicago. His
Okay.
name was Bruno Rodi. And he was one of Al Capone's top bomb making guys.
Oh.
If Al Capone wanted a house blown up, Bruno was usually the one who did it, at least built the bomb. His son was also elected to as an alderman in Chicago. And while he was serving as alderman, the FBI came in and investigated him. His nickname was the Stick, and there's no need in describing what a mob figure does with the stick. I think he used a baseball bat. He was a White Sox fan. And they put him in jail. And last I heard, he was still in jail. They got him for corruption and murder. And when the FBI gets a couple things on, you're just done.
Yeah.
And he was a sitting alderman in Chicago when the FBI hit him.
Wow.
But Bruno, he was an interesting case. Uh, had to treat him kind of because he was a tough guy. He kind of had to go in there and be tough. He at first didn't like me because, of course, I'm not a mob, not in the mob. I'm not Italian. I don't have a drop of Italian blood in me. And so I had to get respect from him, and finally did. And I went in there with a psychic, and we talked him out of the place he was, uh, and told him just to go around the world. And again, and you see other things to go other places because he was stuck, and he was holding 20 to 25 of the spirits in the place,
Hmm.
so he would be alone. And we talked him into the
Misery.
fact that this
Misery
is
loves company.
wrong, what you're doing here, to release the others and and mhm, and to release yourself. Oh, there was a child spirit there who had died with her family. There was a head-on collision on the interstate right in front of the place, and this is where she, for some reason, she didn't die at the same instant as the rest of the family, and got you know, tossed out or something, where she was out alone, away from the other family spirits, and she got stuck in that place because he scooped her up and put her in there.
Hmm.
And we got him to release her and several others because the business that was in the place, it was a bar, and the bar was opened up in an old mortuary, and he was stuck in the old cold room in the mortuary. And the bar was moving. In fact, had moved when we went in there and got him out of there because they were talking about building a bank there, which meant the cold room where he was stuck would be destroyed. Uh, I don't know if they've destroyed the room or not because they have not opened the bank because this was several years ago. And I guess the bank ran out of money or changed their mind or something. And it's still an abandoned building. But we got him out of there before he was stuck in there totally alone with probably the power cut off or just enough heat in the building to keep the pipes from freezing during the winter.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a crazy place. It was a bar known for working people, and you didn't want to investigate on a Friday night after they've had a good crowd because you could go in either the men or the women's bathroom, and you could get high on cocaine just by walking into the bathroom.
Oh
And
my
if you
God.
dared
What?
snort the counter, you were out of your head, zonked out on cocaine because they were known to go in there and just put the blow on the counter in the bathrooms and get sky high there in the bathroom.
Oh my God. What is this place? Jesus Christ.
This is
All right.
Chicago. Welcome to the Windy City.
Welcome to Chicago.
And by the way, this bar or former mortuary is at the corner of 26th Street in Wentworth. The 26th Street gang is one of the few mobs. There's only one of three mob families still active in Chicago from in the 90s. The FBI basically when it cleaned out Chicago except for three families. And the 26th Street gang is one of the three that are still allowed to go in and do anything in court against them.
Wow.
The 26th Street gang was run by Bruno Brody until a gentleman named Al Capone came from New York and took over the south side of Chicago and took over the 26th Street gang and called it the Chicago Outfit.
Huh.
And I'll tell you a little something personally about this. Not only did I investigate this and become associated with Bruno Brody, Al Capone is still mad at me. But when my wife and I decided we were going to leave Chicago and retire to the backwoods down here in Arkansas, we needed a car. So we bought I don't know if you know anything about cars, but we bought a 2006 Dodge Magnum wagon with a SRT 8, which is a 425 horse Hemi engine in it.
Okay.
And who did we buy it from? We bought it from the mob in Chicago. It's a former mob car.
Oh my God! So, like, there may also be cocaine remnants and dead people in your car.
You didn't want to lay in the back and do like Deadpool did in the first movie and try to smell the rich Corinthian leather. You did not want to go there.
Oh my goodness! That is quite the vehicle.
We still have that car.
You probably can't get
It's
rid of
sitting
it now.
there 20 feet from where I'm sitting. The carport's right next to the house. Yeah.
Just go into a compound.
Hey, it's
We'll
fun
just impound it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I think I've got a few.
We're sitting here.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's one location that is actually it's at the tavern. It's one of the locations that we investigate is called the Old Stone Jail. It was built in 1835, and there are a few. I wouldn't say when I say negative, I don't mean demonic. I mean negative. I'm a big believer of asshole in life, asshole in
Okay.
death. And so
Exactly.
Um, yeah. So there's some things in there that can be fairly negative, and you know, conversation has gotten a little colorful
Mhm.
in that sense. Um, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a provoking sort of thing. It's just uh the conversation, or maybe the topics, or the words that are utilized are uh definitely not PG-13 sort of deal. Um, and it's also with folks that did some not so nice things to other people. And so I feel like, I think in the right environment and the right um situation, you don't need to be the nicest of people, right? Like, you know there are times when you're going to deal with people that aren't nice to you, and right off the bat, no matter what, no matter what you do. And in there are a few of those. And so, you know there are a few that don't like me. And it's always interesting. It's always interesting when I go into the jail, versus some of like the other folks on my team. Um, they will get some different interactions than I do, because when I go in there, it tends to be a lot of like FUs kind of deal. There's there's one or two in there that don't particularly care for my presence, but it's always interesting. But I don't, like I wouldn't do that, or trying to interact with I mean, like, it's not like I walked in there and I was like middle fingers to the air. It was definitely like, okay, here I am. Let's see what we encounter. Let's see what we experience. And then I let them set the tone, right? Like, whoever I'm communicating with. Uh, they set the tone, and that's, we'll play by
There you
your
go.
rules. You set the rules, and that's how we'll play. So it can be interesting. It can be interesting for sure.
Well, yes, I've had a couple of experiences with Al Capone, and I let him kind of see how the encounter's going. I've had one kind of bad encounter where he was, I guess, in a bad mood. Others are indifferent, where he ignores me and I ignore him.
Hmm.
Because I've done a couple of things that peeved him off, but I've never went and done any real injury to him. So he's never come up to me and done any kind of real injury to me. We either ignore each other or no, how you have to go in, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Now he used to come down here to Arkansas a lot to Hot Springs,
Oh, really?
and one yes, inside they had it outside, but it kept being stolen, which aggravated Al to no end. But they always brought it back because Al Capone was not nice to the people who stole his statue.
Hmm.
So now they've got it inside, and what I want to do is go in there with two or three other paranormal investigators and try to talk to the statue maybe after closing of this restaurant right there on the main drag in downtown Hot Springs, Arkansas. So
Hmm.
that's definitely on my list, and is an investigation I can do. Hot Springs is less than 100 miles from my house.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool to check out. Just don't get one of those ones that wants minimum wage.
Right. Or get the guy who wants to see my background, see where I've gone hunting before, because I got a feeling you put Al Capone in front of him, and that's the last time I'd ever see. Because
Done.
most people faced without somebody like Al Capone, they're gone. They don't want anything to do with you anymore.
Too funny.
And, uh, what cities have you investigated in?
Oh, wow. I don't know. Like I've been to. I could probably list locations like places I've investigated. But obviously big is around here in Richmond, Virginia. I've been up to Gettysburg.
Right.
I've been to into Sweet Springs, which is in West Virginia. Um, done a little bit of investigating down in um, St. Augustine in Florida. Um, been up to Massachusetts to the Peter Oliver House, so in that area, or like Falling River and Salem and all that sort of stuff. Um, investigated in Rochester, in New York. There's a really cool building up there that we've investigated. Um, I don't know. I've done a lot, like up and down the East Coast, and then out into Indiana is the farthest I've been, where we investigated in Randolph at the Randolph County Infirmary, and then the church that we have actually investigated the church that Jim Jones um, went to, attended as like a young kid into his teenage years, and then a little
Wow.
bit older, and that was really creepy. That was actually where he kind of picked up his, I guess, his tendencies, and started the Kool Aid Party, as I call it. And so that was an interesting investigation, but. Um, yeah, I've been to, I mean, I'm definitely, I've got two kids at home, so um can't, run all the way across the country, but have had the opportunity to investigate a lot of really neat locations up and down the
Right.
East
No, that
Coast
feeling.
and whatnot. So it's been cool. Like, there's a number of places, like I'd love to investigate the Winchester Mystery House, and a couple places out in California. I'd love to get down to like Louisiana and check out some of that. Um, there's a couple places in Texas that seem like really cool, but it's just it's one of those things where you know just got to find the right time, and it might be a couple years, but I'll get there. They'll be there. Queen Mary, that would be
Hmm.
really cool. I've not done.
Thomas Dunn, he's a
Yeah, I'm not done. Like, one of the things that I want to do um is like a ship, like investigate like a proper ship. And haven't had the opportunity to do that quite yet. Um, but it is definitely on my bucket list. I have a number of friends. I know Thomas has, and a number of other friends that have had the opportunity to do so. Just one of those timing things, but eventually, that's that's a goal. I'd love to do that. I think that would be really unique, a really cool opportunity to investigate like a ship, or it doesn't even matter if it's a cruiser, like a cruise line, or a battleship. I think both would be really cool.
yes, very different. Like
Yeah.
you didn't mention the fort that's north of St. Augustine. You didn't get to go there. I cannot pronounce the Spanish name of it.
Which one?
Just the big old Spanish fort north of St. Augustine,
Oh yeah,
or the south of St.
Castillo de
Augustine.
San Marcos, I believe. Um, we did actually. So, a buddy of mine has a pass that
There you
grants
go.
him access into all of the national parks, and he gets. I don't know exactly what this pass is, but it is a unrestricted pass. I don't know what exactly he did in the past, but somehow he got his hands on this through something that he did for a career, and we got access into the fort, and we got to go into uh, some of the rooms that the general public and didn't have access to, and so we were able to run, a couple quick sessions in the evening. um, nothing like major, like we didn't have the whole place all locked down for the entire night, but we get to spend good 2 hours or so, where we were one of very, very, very few folks that were in the fort. And it was interesting. I mean, we got a few EVPs, but just the overall, I guess, feeling of that fort, especially some of those little spots that are kind of like deeper in, um, is very heavy. It's very heavy. Like you could walk in and you could just feel a palpable change in the room that you were in that wasn't there in like literally the next room over, and there's no real difference. But you walk in and it's just like man, this is different. Like the energy is different, the environment's different. You can really feel it, and it was a really cool experience. I know not a lot of folks get to investigate some of those places, and it's typically pretty locked down, especially national parks. Um, but it was really cool just to get kind of a
Right.
little taste of it, a little glimpse, that otherwise we wouldn't have had the opportunity to do so. So it was really exciting, and I love it. St. Augustine's beautiful. Um, Dying to go back.
Mhm.
I need another vacation down there. But it was a
Go
lot of
go a
fun.
little bit go a little bit further north and hit Savannah if you're going in that area.
Where was it?
Savannah is one of the most haunted cities in the United
Oh,
States.
love Savannah. Absolutely love Savannah. I have some friends that
Savannah,
are in
Savannah,
Savannah right
Georgia.
now. Yep. I have some friends that are there right now. They're actually investigating the Moon River Brewery tonight, and I'm very jealous of them. I love Savannah.
Really?
Savannah is like my retirement, like, dream destination. It's absolutely beautiful. I love the history. Uh, I had the opportunity to do a tiny investigation in Moon River, um, and it was really cool. But just in general, I love Savannah. I love the energy of that whole city, and you can just walk around outside and just feel it. And I love that. You know, whereas
Mm-hmm.
most of the cities that are on the East Coast that were around during the Civil War did not survive. Right, most of them were either bombarded by cannon fire,
Right.
or shells or mortared or whatever. And Savannah was one of the very few that did not. They were like Switzerland. They're like, don't mess with us,
You
we
know
ain't gonna mess with
you know
anybody
why,
else.
don't you?
Uh,
What you know why they survived,
vaguely,
don't you?
vaguely. I did a while back.
Atlanta did not did not surrender. Surrendered. Savannah surrendered to Sherman.
Yeah, you still there? There you
Oh, and one thing I did not tell you about me. I'm a native Georgian. I'm actually from Columbus, Georgia, the other side of the state.
are. Okay, very cool. But dude, I love Savannah. I love Savannah. I love Charleston.
So I've been to
Um,
Savannah several times.
it's beautiful, and
Yeah.
I would love to
Yes.
I'd love to
Agree.
just I like hanging out in the historic district. Like if I could, that's where I would just hang out and just chill and just take it all in.
Yeah. You would love New Orleans.
I That is a bucket list location, is New Orleans, because I want to try the food. Like I am a fatty, so
Okay.
like I am dying to get, I'm dying to get to New Orleans just to eat. Like I'm like I want some gumbo, man. I want some shrimp gumbo. I want some jambalaya. Man, I'm like, I mean, beyond the fact that it's haunted as hell, and I want to go and check out all the locations. I want to go down there and eat. And so like it'll be eat and then investigate.
Yes.
Um, but that is the goal. Get down there, eat a
Yes.
bunch of food,
Exactly.
pass out for a little bit, and then investigate. Survive Mardi Gras '99. What was this, Thomas? This is
Okay.
like
Word
Nom.
of advice. Word of advice. Don't stay in the big name brand hotels.
Okay.
Be sure you go in there and check out the older hotels because a lot
Yes.
of the older hotels are in what used to be a plantation or a big home, and you can sit there in your hotel room and investigate.
My
You don't have to
wife
go
would
anywhere.
hate that.
That's just a word of advice. Don't go to Days Inn or IAD or anything like that. Go go ahead and don't stay on Bourbon Street. It's too crowded, too noisy.
Oh yeah.
But one of the smaller hotels that's only got just 2 or 3 stories tall and only got maybe 15 or 20 rooms, and stay in those places just a block off Bourbon Street. Stay off Bourbon Street. It's a big touristy place.
Hmm.
But if you can get a block or two off of it, you can find some really haunted places. And like I said, you can investigate in your own room. Uh, they got the haunted pharmacy down there. They do tours. Occasionally, if you go down there with a group and they will let you in there at night. But you got to talk to them, like catch them in the mood, catch them when they need. But I have stayed at the hotel next door to the haunted pharmacy, and we have a courtyard in back of the hotel. Like most of your older hotels in New Orleans have a courtyard in the back. They have a common wall. So if you go to that hotel, you can stay in one of the ground floors, walk into the courtyard, and investigate the pharmacy at night
That'd be cool.
without having to go into the pharmacy.
Yeah, so like
It was cool.
love I have zero problems sleeping in a haunted location. Like that doesn't bother me whatsoever. I'm a okay with it. But when it comes to like family traveling and like if my wife is coming with me, that is a no go. Like she does not like the paranormal stuff. And typically I sleep like the dead, right? And my team, because typically when we go and we head out to locations, we all like pile into a like one hotel room because we're all cheap, right? And um, they typically have to bring like earplugs, and so I have no problem. Like I will sleep through the end of the world. Um, she, on the other hand, something happens like activity wise, and she's like, what's going on? Hi. And so, we've been to places where she's woken up and seen like a little girl standing there, like playing with her hair. And me, on the other hand, am busy sawing logs. Um, so I miss all these things, and she's busy like freaking out over here, and I'm just asleep. Like, and I'm like, man, I wish I was awake. I want to experience this. And she's like, nope, this is not happening. So it's like reverse roles.
uh, yeah. Now my wife stayed in the same room with me during when I was down there for a 2 night investigation of the very haunted Andrew Jackson Hotel in New Orleans. We actually had a ghost in the room, and she would speak to him at his name. She would actually walk in there and say hi to him, and would turn on Echo Vox. He would say hi back to her, and while I but she was sitting there watching, uh, binge watching Game of Thrones,
Uh huh.
and the ghost was sitting there with her watching Game of Thrones with
Good
her
show, man. It's
while
a
I was
solid
investigating other
show.
parts of the hotel. And
I don't blame them. It's a good show.
it was, and the ghost was enjoying it. Uh, so that's if you go to New Orleans, you might not want to take your wife. Now, my wife would not let me go. Of course, I got a friend down there right now. Tony, you talking about friends of yours in Savannah? I got a friend of mine from Chicago, and him and his other half are down in New Orleans right now. I imagine he's probably either getting ready for an investigation or full on in one right now, knowing him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to some of the haunted places that I told him about. Uh, so he knows places to go. And I've done some investigations down there that were rather scary from the dead and the living. So if you go down there, you got to watch it back, especially if you go to Lafitte's blacksmith shop bar, which is a little bit further down Bourbon Street than most places. And you got mostly locals go there and touristies. Tourists during the day, in the evening time, you got a lot of locals. During the week, you can go in there with, say, an Echo Box and just plug it in, like you're sitting there with your phone and you're listening, you got to get your headsets or your earbuds or whatever, and you look like you're talking on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
But you're listening to what's coming through your Echo Box. And if you sit there right in front of the fireplace, you can contact some spirits. And some of them claim to be Jean Lafitte. John Lafitte, however that's pronounced.
That's interesting.
So it's a place you definitely want to hit. Some people like their hurricanes. Their hurricanes are different than a lot of other places. The thirsty hurricanes. They also have the blue drink, which is basically a very strong grape icy. If you can imagine a grape icy from a 7-Eleven or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it's mostly ice, but instead of grape flavor and whatever you were, some kind of flavor in it, it's 3/4 rum.
Oh God.
Very good on a hot night. Sip it slowly, and don't sit there and try to have 2 or 3 of them. You have 2 or 3 of them, you got to go to the restroom. You will stand up and you will do a face out on their floor. Because it
may
will hit
stay the
you
night
all of a sudden, and you're just gone.
there.
Yes, you may curl up in a knot on their floor.
That sounds strong.
It, yes, it will kick your butt. And of course, in New Orleans, you can drink on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And surprised my wife. We left the she first time she'd ever been there, and I was a pro. I've been there many times before. And we're at 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, somewhere between 9 and 10. We're just walking down the street, and she's first time in New Orleans, first time on Bird Street, and the bars are wide open. And of course, several of the bars have the door. I call them closet bars, where they've got a little bar set up facing the street behind the
Yeah.
bar. And you got a
Mm-hmm.
person there, and you can go. That's where you get the hand grenades and or hurricane cup. And let me tell you something about 2 or 3 grenades, and you feel like one went off in your head. So I got up, and there was not quite 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm walking down the street with one of those hand grenades in my hand. And she was just, okay, I'm just ignoring you. I'm looking at the street here. So that's why the wife had to put up with. She was nice about it.
That's too funny. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I've always had this desire to go and check out New Orleans, and uh, I've never been, but I just love all the pictures that I've seen of the architecture and the history just are so appealing. Uh, it's just not even from a paranormal. I mean, from the paranormal aspect, obviously, I'm like dying to get down there, but just from a historical aspect and just the almost like
Mm-hmm.
this subculture that has been created in that area, um, just just seems very intriguing and interesting. and it's always been a place that at some point I want to visit and spend time there, and just experience it. Just be in the presence of that location, and uh, just experience it for what it is. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That it just sounds amazing. I mean, that's always, when I travel, that's always something that I love to do. When you go out of the country, and people like to go on these excursions, right? And they like go and you know go swimming with the dolphins and stuff. I'm so much more interested in learning the culture and the people, and uh seeing how they live, and experiencing life in their way, as opposed to just like doing the touristy thing. Uh, I just find
Hmm.
it so much more enriching and fulfilling.
Yes. Yeah. If one word of advice, if you go to New Orleans, take a tour to Marie Laveau's tomb.
Oh yeah, I gotta. You can't
And
go to
uh,
New Orleans without Marie Laveau's.
yeah, go there first, leave her something. I don't know how long your hair is or if you ever put anything in your hair, but Marie Laveau, she was a hairdresser in her heyday.
Okay.
So take something that's been in your hair and leave it at her tomb as a memorial and just say a little prayer to her real quick. Ask her permission to go in New Orleans, and you will get a lot more results.
Okay. I'll have to do
And
that.
I'm not talking about spending a whole lot of money. Do like I do. Now you may see this kind of back here. This is a ponytail. Yes, my hair is quite long. What I did, I pulled the elastic band out of my hair and dropped it at her tomb as a tribute. And she said, "Oh, okay, you've given me tribute and asked permission. It's a lot easier to do the paranormal in New Orleans if you do that." Uh, by the way, it's getting a little bit later. We've done an hour 41 show. I don't know what time you got to get up. Do you need to get on out of here a little bit early, or what time do you get up? I'm retired. I lose track of time. I could talk with somebody like you at 6 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes I forget that people have to go to work. That's because I don't. Other people do.
I do. I have to get up a little early tomorrow. So.
So if you want to go ahead and get out of here, whenever you say I got to go ahead and say that.
All right. Well, I may, if it's okay. It's a good stop point. I may hop. Just because I do have to get up early tomorrow, and I got a number of errands to run and things to get done, and I've got two kids that are gonna make sure that I'm awake and running at God knows when early in the morning.
Well, see, I don't have that issue. The wife has gone to bed about this time, or getting ready to go to bed, and I've got no kids. By the way, how long have you been married?
Gosh, so married. We've been married for 9 years, but we've been together um for quite a bit longer. We dated for a number of years, because we actually started dating in high school. So we probably,
Wow.
that's what is that, like 14 maybe. So a good chunk of time. Uh, quite a bit.
Gail is actually my second wife. I was married. I was married to somebody else in my got married in my late 20s. But we were married about 6 years. Got a divorce, and I was single for about 10, 11 years. And Gail and I met in a British chat room
Wow.
in 1999, I believe, when we first started talking with each other. And 99, somebody mentioned AOL. This is back during the heyday of AOL. And her and I met in a British chat room based just outside of London.
Hmm.
and got talking, and uh, she knew I had a few issues with people I was dating. We decided to get together at the Arnold Classic. You've heard of Arnold Schwarzenegger, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
He has a big bodybuilding in Columbus, Ohio. So I flew from Columbus, Georgia, through Atlanta. Of course, if you, in Columbus, Georgia, or Macon, Georgia, anywhere, if you die, you got to go to Atlanta first,
Yeah.
and
Pretty much.
definitely go to Columbus, Ohio. Had to go to Atlanta first, and then flew to Columbus, Ohio. She flew down from Chicago. She's a native Chicagoan, but her parents are from down here. Her father actually traced his family lineage back. She is from a family that originated in Louisiana, just a few miles south.
That's cool.
I, I was a photographer. She was yeah, I married a power lifter, by the way.
Huh. That's pretty neat.
My wife in a prime could bench 200 and deadlift almost 4.
Good lord. She could be picking me up.
Yes. But all right, you say, and by the way, we got married 2001, so we've been married this fall. It'll be 23 years. Got
Wow.
married in what used to be the old library in Chicago. So another thing about the link of me to the mob, I only lived in Chicago for 14 and a half years, but I got a lot of mob connections, driving a former mob car, and we got married in the old library, which which was outside, was in several scenes of the Kevin Costner movie The Untouchables,
Hmm.
and was actually a functioning library in mob heyday in Chicago, back when Al Capone was there in, say, the 19 teens, 20s, and 30s.
That's pretty cool though.
And that's where we got married. So that's our kind of, yeah, right there close to lakefront. You could actually look out the windows and see Lake Michigan, and a very historic building. Uh, so it was fun, but we're enjoying our cabin in the woods. All right, Steve, it's been fantastic having you as a guest. Great
Yeah,
talking
thanks
to
for
you.
having
We
me.
need to do this again, where we can sit there and just go for a while.
Let's
Hey,
do it.
it was pleasure having you, and stay in contact on the internet. If you got something you want to say to me, just shoot me a private message, on Messenger like we talked before. If you got something publicly you want to say, just leave a note on my Facebook page. Always be glad to hear from you. You are one of
Yeah,
the people
appreciate it.
doing it the right way, and anybody who's around you or wants to talk with you, they will be the better for it, because I think you're one of the few people in the paranormal who are actually doing it right.
Well, I
And
appreciate that.
you want to
Thank you.
touch one more time about where they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, so if
Hey,
you guys want to
hey,
come
this one
find,
reason.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, you go ahead.
All right. So if you want to come and find me, again, Transcend Paranormal on Facebook, transcendparanormal.com, Ghost Finders, it's the Ghost Finders on Facebook and ghostfinders.com. Um, and then if you want to come in and hang out with us, hang out with me, you can actually find me or some of my teammates actually at the Hanover Tavern, which is hanovertavern.org, or on Facebook again at Hanover Tavern. I spend a lot of time there, much to the behest of my wife. But you can find me there. You can find me there a lot. So yeah, I would love if if anybody is in the area, or if you want to come on down, more than welcome to. We host a number of public investigations, and like I said before, 100% of the proceeds goes directly to the historic locations that we work with. So it's for a good cause, and we have a lot of fun with it at the same time.
Well, if you ever do get to New Orleans, definitely let me know when you're coming. I'll see if I can run down there with you.
I
By the
will.
way, one location just to the south of here, Look this up. Poverty Point.
Okay.
Look it up on the internet. It's a place you can visit. Also, look up where Bonnie and Clyde were murdered or killed by the police. What do you call it when during a police ambush and killing?
Yeah.
Their death site.
Okay.
It's in northern Louisiana. So if you ever wanted to go there, I can be to either place. Poverty Point takes me about 2 hours to get to. The Bonnie and Clyde death site, I can be there in an hour from where I'm sitting.
Okay.
So if you ever want to come down here and hit a few places, definitely let me know.
I will. I want to, like I said, it's definitely on the bucket list. So, at some point, I'm gonna try to get down there.
Also look up the Allen House.
Okay. I'm jotting these down.
Are you familiar? Do you remember the Ghost Brothers
Yeah.
TV show?
Hmm.
The Ghost Brothers, their premiere, their first episode was in the Allen House. The Allen House is 30 miles from where I'm sitting.
That's pretty close.
Yes. All right. You take care of yourself. Be in contact. Say hello to your wife for me.
Will do.
And definitely you take care of yourself and keep on with what you're doing.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, holler at me. Would love to chat some more sometime.
All right, we'll do this again.
Alrighty, let's do it.
Have a
Alrighty,
good
have a
night.
good evening. Thank you.
All right, everyone. That was Steve Dills. He will be back with you. We got to have some fun tonight. Couple of things. This is the Marie Laveau tomb I was telling him about, and here is Marie Laveau. Anybody going down to New Orleans? Go to her tomb. Leave something that's attached to your hair. It's just put a ribbon, or like I do, got these elastic bands in your hair. Just leave that at her tomb. Ask for permission, and you will get unbelievable evidence around in the New Orleans area. And like I said, I got a friend of mine down there tonight that knows that little fact, and I'm sure he's already been to Marie Laveau's tomb this week. And I wish him luck in his investigations. I wish Steve luck in his future investigations, and also luck in what he's going to do tomorrow. Anyway, I will be back this Saturday night. I'm not sure what I'll do. I'll either show a video from some of my older investigations, or maybe show some pictures. I don't know. I got to put together during Saturday what I will be doing. I have a little bit better internet connection now. The massive problems I had a few weeks ago hopefully are resolved. And it was my whole thing was I was stuck on one tower and was not transferred from one tower to another, which causes the occasional interruption. And that's what the interruptions are when you see them. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, and I don't have internet for a few seconds I only got booted out once tonight. That was pretty darn good. All right. Everybody take care. I still got 2 people watching. Now I'm down to 1 because they know I'm winding down. All right. Just remember, I will be back next Thursday. I will be back Saturday night. 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. actually Sunday morning on the East Coast, midnight in Central Time Zone. And next Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm not sure which, I got to see what other paranormal shows are on. I may start doing an Echo Vox session. I've been leaving that open for a friend of mine who has been doing ghost box sessions of one form or another, and he is going the alien contact route instead of the ghost route. No offense to him. Had no problem with it. But I stayed away from ghost box sessions, Echo Vox sessions, because he was doing it, and yeah, I didn't want to be copying him, especially on the same night or a night right next to it. So I may start doing that. So last time I did it, I ended up getting several results. So I may start doing that once a week. Is if I can get people watching the show, I'd be glad to ask questions. Ghost box. I guess I better need to go. That was another burp in the internet. All right, Bones, take us out of here and go to the exit music. And just remember, everyone, the paranormal never sleeps. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for watching our show. Be sure to tune in to next week as once again we journey way down south into Bayou Country for another heaping portion of Southern Fried Paranormal with Len Dorman and Bones. Make sure to like, share, and follow. Y'all come back now. You hear?